Ask someone in India to name their greatest leader. You will hear politicians, you'll hear freedom fighters, you'll hear cricketers and film stars. Almost nobody will say JRD Tata. And yet, this is a man who single handedly started India's aviation industry, who built one of the world's most admired industrial conglomerates across steel, automobile, hotels, chemicals, and technology, who worked 10 hours a day for 50 years, not for personal wealth, not for power, but because he genuinely believed it was his responsibility to build a better India. He was still flying his own private jet at the age of 80. Beyond the Last Blue Mountain by R.M. Lala is the biography of JRD Tata, and it left me genuinely asking, how is this man not a household name in every Indian home? Beyond the Last Blue Mountain is R.M. Lala's detailed biography of Jahangir Ratanji Dadabhoy Tata, JRD, who led the Tata Group for over 5 decades from 1938 to 1991. I want to be honest about where I started. I know about Ratan Tata. I know Tata as a massive conglomerate: cars, steel, salt, hotels. I had a vague sense that Tata had contributed enormously to India's development. But JRD specifically, I knew almost nothing. By the time I finished this book, I genuinely felt I had encountered one of the most extraordinary human beings in modern Indian history. And I felt a quiet frustration that his story is not told more widely. Let me start with the story that affected me the most. JRD Tata was a pioneering aviator, one of the first Indians to receive a commercial pilot's license. And in 1932, he founded Tata Airlines, which eventually became Air India. What this book shows you is not just that he founded it, it shows you how he ran it. JRD was obsessive about standards. His airlines were on time always. The food was exceptional. The customer service was impeccable. The aircraft were maintained to the highest possible standard. He personally reminded his staff constantly that they were not just representing a company, they were representing India in the eyes of every international passenger who flew with them. And he would accept nothing less than excellence. In the 1940s and 50s, Air India was considered one of the finest airlines in the world, not in Asia, in the world. And then the government nationalized it in 1953. JRD watched the airline he had built with meticulous care pass into government hands. He watched the standards decline. He watched the punctuality disappear. He watched what had been a source of genuine national pride slowly become what Air India eventually became. He continued as chairman for years after nationalization, fighting from within to maintain standards, but the control was no longer his. Reading this, I felt genuine sadness because the question the book implicitly raises is devastating. What could Indian aviation have been if JRD had been allowed to continue? And this pattern, JRD seeing what India needed decades before anyone else, and then watching the government fail to listen, repeats throughout the book. He understood industrial policy. He understood the importance of education and research. He understood that a company's responsibility extended beyond profit to the communities it operated in. Decades before corporate social responsibility became a fashionable concept, he proposed ideas, he made recommendations, he wrote letters, he had access, he knew Nehru, he knew every significant leader of post independence India. And yet, again and again, the government of the day was not receptive enough, did not move fast enough, did not think big enough. The book leaves you with a quietly painful realization that India could have developed faster, more equitably, more intelligently if the people making decisions had listened more carefully to the people who understood industry and economics. JRD was not bitter about this. That is perhaps the most remarkable thing about him. Because here is what separates JRD from almost every other industrialist or leader I have read about. He was genuinely humble. This is a man who was regularly meeting heads of state, global business leaders, the most powerful people in the world. And yet, by every account in this book, he treated everyone the same. He listened, he was accessible, he gave people time. He did not accumulate personal wealth in the way you would expect from someone who led one of India's largest conglomerates for 50 years. His motivation was never personal enrichment. He genuinely believed and demonstrated through every decision he made that his responsibility was to the country first, the company second, and himself last. That is almost impossibly rare. Reading about him, I kept thinking, what is it about certain people that allows them to accumulate this level of power and responsibility and remain fundamentally decent, fundamentally human? JRD Tata is one of those people, and this book captures that quality with great care. RM Lala had extraordinary access to JRD, interviews, letters, personal accounts from people who worked closely with him, and that access shows. This is not a hagiography, a blindly worshipful biography that ignores complexity. Lala captures JRD's frustrations, his occasional stubbornness, the tensions within the Tata Group, the difficult relationship with government over decades. But it's also deeply respectful because the subject genuinely deserves respect. What I appreciated most is the personal glimpses towards the end. JRD in his later years, still full of energy, still curious, still flying his own plane at 80, a man who lived every single day with complete engagement. That is how I want to live. And reading about someone who actually did it for 90 years is genuinely inspiring. Beyond the Last Blue Mountain is essential reading for anyone who wants to understand modern India. Not because it's the most comprehensive business biography ever written, but because it introduces you to a man whose values, vision, and selfless service represent something India desperately needs more of in business, in government, in public life. JRD Tata worked 10 hours a day for 50 years. He built industries that employed millions. He created institutions that outlasted him. He maintained his personal integrity throughout, and almost nobody talks about him anymore. That is a loss for our collective memory and for our sense of what leadership can actually look like. Read this book and then think about who we celebrate and why, and whether we are celebrating the right people. Have you read Beyond the Last Blue Mountain? Tell me in the comments what aspect of JRD's life affected you the most. And if you haven't read it, does this review make you want to? I genuinely believe this is a book every Indian should read because understanding where we came from and who built what we take for granted matters. Subscribe if you want more honest book reviews like this one every week on Lore and Lens. See you in the next one.